Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next on the GM, Ravens versus 49ers. Do me a quick favor, hit like. If it is your first time checking out the gym, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, the Ravens versus the Niners is being billed as the biggest game of this weekend. Excuse me. And possibly one of the biggest games of this season, especially since this is the first time in a long time where you had both of the number one seeds, one in the AFC, one in the NFC, with the same exact record facing off this late in the season. So maybe it is a big game. But what we want to talk about today on the GM is what does this game really mean for both teams? Let's start with the 49ers. I think for the 49ers, it doesn't mean much other than another game if they win that they can tuck under their belt. The reason why I say it doesn't mean a whole lot to the 49ers is because the 49ers are right now playing with the utmost confidence in everything that they're doing: offense, special teams, and defense, and then coaching as well. I don't think that the 49ers have any doubt in their ability. They don't have any doubt in the guys that they have on their team. And they're playing probably the most consistent football of all the teams, and that does include the Baltimore Ravens. So I don't think it means as much for the 49ers. I think that some things that the 49ers could take away from this game, if or when they win, is going to be that um, Brock Purdy is probably going to be the MVP. I think that it will kind of prove to themselves maybe that they have faced all the toughest defenses and walked away with a win. And I think it may also prove that they are who they think that they are. Because I think that they believe that they're best. When you hear the 49ers talk, when you see their performance on the field, they play, talk, and think like they are the best. And I think that's okay to have that kind of confidence, especially if you're putting a good product on the field. All of sports media is kind of billing the 49ers as indefensible or unbeatable. And I think that that's simply because they've been consistent in all phases. They did have a 3 game slide in the middle of the season, which I'll get into when I do keys to victory. But I think for the most part, they have been the most consistent team. Run game is excellent. Offensive line is blocking well. Defensive front, although they've had some injuries, they're playing well. They have an elite edge rusher. They have an elite linebacker, and they have solid-ish secondary players. And so I think that that's what they're going to bring to the table on Sunday. I think they do have an advantage on Sunday simply because they are playing at home. The emotions of Christmas, I think, will be a factor, especially for the Ravens, especially since they're playing across the country. They'll have to be leaving town probably on Saturday if they're not leaving on Friday. So they won't get to spend Christmas Eve or Christmas Day at home with their family. So I think that will have some sort of an emotional tug on the team. But of course, they've seen this schedule for a while now, so they've already made preparation. But being mentally and emotionally ready for that experience is something different. Not the experience to play football, but the experience of being away from your normal tradition. I think that could play a factor, which I believe gives the 49ers an added advantage. Yes, they are at home. Yes, the crowd is going to be crazy. But I think just being in an unorthodox situation such as playing on the road on Monday night on Christmas is a very rare thing. And so I think that could play a factor. But I don't think the 49ers really take a lot from this game because there's not much that they're going to gain. Okay. They've already beat the Cowboys, they've already beat the Eagles this year, and they've already won their division. So even with a loss, they're not going to move out of that number one overall seed. So all this win can do is kind of increase their confidence if an increase in confidence is possible. Let's jump to the Ravens. Excuse me. I think the Baltimore Ravens um, are kind of playing with house money this week. And what I mean by that is, um, if they lose, all of the media world, all of the sports fans are going to say, well, we thought that they would lose anyway. Because when you hear people talk, they talk as if the Baltimore Ravens really don't have a chance because the 49ers are that elite. And so I think that's why they're playing with house money. See, when you don't have the world um, supporting you and gassing you up, you can kind of go in with an underdog mentality, with a not a chance mentality, with a chip on your shoulder, and you can go in there and quote unquote shock the world. And so I think they're playing with house money. That's number one. I think number two, what the Ravens um, can really take from this game is, kind of a confidence that they can play with anybody. I think that it's easy to say, meaning the Ravens players, I think it's easy for them to say, well, we can play with anybody. But I think to think it and then to prove it is something distinctly different. And I think that the Ravens could take away that proof if they win this game on the road on Monday night on Christmas. You see, I think that they could definitely have an advantage coming out of this game. A third thing that I think that the Baltimore Ravens could take away from this game is just holding on to that number one spot. You know, getting a win in San Francisco allows them to stay one game ahead of the Miami Dolphins. Um, and then that's even if they win on Sunday. And so I think that when you look at it that way, I think that the Baltimore Ravens can take away some real positives from this game. I think when you look at it from an offensive and defensive perspective, what the Baltimore Ravens can gain when we get into the intricacies of ball itself, I think offensively, I think the Ravens, if we can win this game, I think that um, it'll unlock um, a collective confidence. And I know you hear me talk about confidence a lot, but what I mean is, You know, I think Lamar Jackson has the ultimate confidence in himself and his players, but sometimes when we look at games, it seems like they lose confidence when things don't go well. So I think getting out of this game with a win will unlock that confidence so that when they face adversity, whether week 17 or 18 or even in the playoffs, they can lean on this win when they felt like nobody believed in them, nobody thought they had a chance, and they went in there and handled their business. I think that a few things I think that the Baltimore Ravens can build upon and take from this game offensively is establishing a pecking order in their run game. I think that when Keaton Mitchell emerged this season, it kind of created a pecking order. Although Gus had been the long season starter, you saw Keaton Mitchell get the first carries in a few games, and I think that um, that can kind of create a little bit of uneasiness. And so I think that in this game where the defense is solid and you got to figure out a way to establish a run game, I think establishing a pecking order will be a thing that they could take away. Of course, we know as fans, we believe it's going to be Gus, then Justice Hill, and then Melvin Gordon. But let's say, for example, Justice Hill gets off this game, which he possibly could. Like I said, stay tuned for keys to victory. Maybe Justice Hill emerges as a number one or a 1A to, excuse me, to Gus Edwards' number one spot. I think in the passing game, I think that this could be a game where we can begin to develop a scheme and plan and idea of how to overcome Keaton Mitchell's loss. I think one way that we can do that, even in this game, is to use Zay Flowers a little different. I think that Zay Flowers has, in some ways, hit the rookie wall, so to speak. When you think about a college season, even when you add in the bowl game, you're looking at 13, 14 games at the most. And so here we are going into a week 16, which is something that Zay has not experienced before. And so it's real, it's, so I think it's makes practical sense that he'll have to readjust and catch his second wind, so to speak, to really engage as we go down the stretch or continue down this stretch run. And so I think one way you could utilize him to kind of offset what the loss of Keaton Mitchell is to move him around more, not just at wide receiver. Don't use him as a running back, but line him up in the backfield. Send him out on some wheel routes, send him out on some screen passes. Again, don't hand him the ball. I don't want him taking those kind of hits. But if wherever Zay is, especially if he lines up in an unorthodox position, meaning a position that he's not normally in, the defense is going to pay close attention to that, right? And so I think line him up in the backfield, um, motion him, from the backfield out wide, motion him out wide into the backfield. Allow the defense to key on him, even in the context of making him a decoy. Maybe he just gets faked the ball, and the ball is absolutely going somewhere else. I think you can use him that way, and then of course, throw it to him. If you allow him to get a run and start, in a screen pass and catch the ball, now he has an opportunity to make a move on the first or second guy and make some yak yards. So I think that this could be a game where we could use that because it's something that we haven't seen this year a whole lot from Zay Flowers, is to line him up in the backfield and use him on screen passes and wheel routes and motion him in and out, that kind of thing. I think another thing that we could gain offensively from this game is just establishing Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman will be big for this game, and he's yet to really get a groove and get on track. But I think this could be a week where he could be the go-to guy. I think the defense will try to home in on Zay, home in on Odell. Um, I think they will pay more attention to Isaiah Likely. And so I think this could be a Rashad Bateman type game. Let's jump to the defense side of the ball for the Ravens. You see, I know I didn't mention much about what the 49ers could take away. I just think they're playing with supreme confidence. But I think that the Ravens sometimes need a confidence builder or booster, so to speak. I think defensively, the Baltimore Ravens can just reestablish themselves in stopping the run. Do I expect them to shut down Christian McCaffrey? No. But I have seen games this year where Christian McCaffrey was shut down. And when you shut down or slow down McCaffrey, you slow down this offense. And so I think that uh, this could be a game where we play our game and reestablish ourselves as a top-notch run defense. I think the other biggest thing I think that the Baltimore Ravens can establish defensively is that we're not punks. I think that I think that it kind of comes off as punkish when a team is a front runner. Like you only run your mouth, you only talk that talk when you're leading or when you have the advantage. But when you're in a dogfight, you kind of keep that mouth shut. And so I think that, and I'm not saying the Ravens are front runners, but I think that this is one of those weeks where we can establish ourselves as real contenders and gritty, and we're willing to grind out wins. I think that the 49ers have been billed as bullies in some aspects. And so if they come in and punch us in our face, or if we go to their house, which is what game in San Francisco, if we go in and we get punched in our face and we don't get up, then we're going to come off as frauds and punks. And so I think that that's one thing we can do defensively is not get punked. All right. So that's my take, man. Stay tuned for keys to victory. Keys to victory this week will be two separate videos. There'll be a keys to victory offense. There'll be keys to victory defense. I'm Miguel Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.